Hi there, Serial Trader here. I'd like to do an update on Bitcoin. And since the last video, we actually went a little deeper. So I was looking at, if I recall, I was looking at this 786 retracement. And that came into play around 9,500 or so. And we went below that, and actually we did almost 100% retracement. So the low here that we need to hold on Bitfinex was 9,084.7, and we went as low as 9,104.4. So it did hold, basically a double bottom, slightly higher low. And in a wave 2 scenario, you can certainly retrace up to 100% of wave 1, but you can't actually go below wave 1. So that certainly meets the criteria there for labeling it a wave 2. And of course, that deep of retracement convinces almost everyone that the low will break, and then when it doesn't, it takes many by surprise. So I do recall saying in the last video, if you were long, or if you're looking to get long in this area, the stop should sensibly be just below this low here. And if that was where you used your stop, you wouldn't have been stopped out, you'd still be in, and now we're actually up here. So I know I did a shorter term entry at similar levels to what I was talking about in the last video, and that's up here reasonably, maybe around $500 or so. So that's good. As far as, from some of my longer term positions, so I kind of split this up as, tactical trading positions, and then I have the longer term BTC holdings, since I am still quite confident of the overall uptrend not being anywhere near complete and having lots of room. So some I will hold even if we do break these lows, and then of course the tactical stuff I'm more in and out with. But that being said, this still counts decently as a 5 up for 1, and then a 3 down, extremely deep, but a 3 down for 2. And I drew this parallel trend channel. Now you can see we're breaking out of that trend channel. So if this is the correct labeling, and this is kind of the most bullish count immediately, certainly has to be proven. If that's true, then we could possibly be embarking on this strong wave 3 up here, basically right now. But that's not the only possibility. So we could also be doing, just an ABC up. So AB, maybe around here, ABC up like this. And that would be more indicative of the X wave scenario, and then we come down again. But I'll show you a different chart for that in a moment. But this is the bull scenario. As long as these levels hold down here, basically the double bottom lows, as long as that holds, the bullish scenario is very, very viable. As far as putting new capital in, though, just based on kind of the hesitation to the upside here, I wouldn't be so crazy about throwing new capital in right here without at least a little confirmation. I mean, if you're going up in a third wave, this should be accelerating and moving quickly, and good volume coming in. And I notice volume's still fairly low, and we're not accelerating that quickly at all. But I'll leave this up here. So this, until it fails down here, this is still very much possible to already be in the next impulse wave to the upside progressing. So that being said, let's look at this. And this is kind of my alternate count. Now there's still other ways to count this, but these are kind of the two I'm running with at the moment. So I'm a little cautious that we could be still having this X wave scenario where we do an overall WXY, a larger correction. And longer term, still very bullish. Obviously, once this was complete, you'd be going significantly higher and obviously above these highs, likely well beyond them. But that would still be a pretty nasty decline percentage-wise from current levels. You'd be looking at, if you went to 7,500 or so, I mean, you'd be looking at another 25-30% decline essentially from current levels. So maybe that doesn't bother some people, but if you got a big position, that's that can be difficult to sit through, even if you are confident as to the overall trend still being higher. Maybe it doesn't bother you. It really depends. But so what I like about this is, okay, we got the A up, we got the B down, and then if we just kind of go in here on the hourly chart, say, one thing that has me a little cautious is this might be just an ABC up. So I can kind of see a little triangle here, right? A, B, C, D, E. So A, B, this would be the BD trend line. Let's see here. Kind of like this. And then the AC trend line would be something like this. And basically you'd be looking at something like a little A up, B wave triangle, and then C up. And I'll just drop the degree on this. And maybe I'll throw some smaller degree triangle labels on. So A, B, C, D, and E. And one lower than that. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at there. And if that's the case, we can draw our parallel trend channel connecting this origin point with the E wave termination point off of A. And let me just get that nailed. Okay, there you go. So this is still very much contained within a parallel trend channel. So if this was 1 up and 2 down of a new developing impulse wave, and this is a little, small degree wave 3 in progress, you tend to want to see this 3 be sharper than the 1, and it's not. It's shallower, and that because it's shallower, and because this initial move up was so sharp off the lows there, this gives it kind of a more corrective look to the upside. And to add some other things on here, so if we just do some wave relationships, here we go. So wave relationships, so A versus C off of B, you can see we're right around the equality relationship, kind of having some rejections of that, at least short term here. So if we basically top out at or near current levels, or if we already have here, and start coming down and breaking out of this channel, that argues we just got 3 waves up off the bottom, and we're coming down again. And that's actually an even weaker interpretation than this kind of projected C wave up for X. You'd basically have an A up, a B down, and then a very weak C. So that's interesting. You could also kind of argue that maybe, well, it doesn't really look like a flat, because this counts better as a 5 than a 3 up, although you could kind of force this to have a corrective count. But the fact that you have 5 non-overlapping waves, I like calling that an impulse wave up. I guess you can adjust that if necessary, though. This looks certainly more corrective to the downside, and this looks corrective to the upside. So short term, not the clearest picture here, but certainly doesn't look super bullish so far on these short term waves off the bottom. So definitely cautious here that we could have some sort of X wave scenario, and you know what? Maybe there's even. Let me just delete a couple things here. So X waves can be triangles. So let me delete all this, clean this up. Forget about that little triangle for a moment. Could absolutely be doing an X wave triangle. And if that was the case, you could have an A up here, B down. Say that would be the C, and then you have a D and an E. And let me bump up that to a minor. And then you'd end your X wave triangle kind of like that. And then you'd be looking for that wave Y decline, right? 3 waves down for Y, or whatever pattern it comes out to. So at this point, you'd be working a double 3. So you'd have a flat, and then a triangle X, and then maybe a zigzag wave Y, or it could be a flat as well, or something like that. But this is certainly still possible, although not enough formation here to really confidently say a triangle is in play, but certainly so far you can't rule it out. So that's kind of the scenario for further correction down, which overall will still be bullish, but from a tactical trading perspective, I mean, if we're doing an X-wave triangle and thrusting down, a couple thousand, $3,000, you surely don't want to be putting in a fresh long for that, or necessarily even holding existing longs, depending what you're trying to do here. So I just thought I'd point this all out. This is what I'm seeing right now in Bitcoin, and I'm certainly happy enough if this plays out as well, this more bullish scenario. And again, as long as these key lows hold down here. So on this chart, 9,084 and more recently 9,101, essentially, around the same area. As long as those lows hold, this can certainly still work out like this, but very much cautious that we could have this more complex correction still developing. All right, we'll check in again when something interesting happens. And I think coming up on the weekend here, I'll probably do an update on the overall markets there, SPX and everything. I haven't done it for a while because I haven't really seen anything too interesting trading-wise ever since we had that decent long opportunity. But now I think there might be an interesting selling opportunity emerging. But I want to see how this week closes out before I dive too hard into it. All right, Serial Trader signing off.